Hello everyone, welcome to Muller Academy. Today we'll be discussing the last part of the chapter environmental issues. This will include the discussion about solid waste, landfills, and a case study. So, in this, we will be discussing the basics of solid waste, its impact on the environment, and how landfills are used to manage and dispose of the solid waste. Solid waste is referred as any garbage generated by household or institutions and industries. It includes a wide range of materials such as paper, food waste, plastic, metal, glass, and even electronic waste. And this solid waste is very a major environmental issue because it takes a very valuable land space and it pollutes air and water and contributes a lot to the climate change. So, as it's written here, municipal solid waste include waste from homes, offices, stores, and these are collected and disposed by municipality. So, what are sanitary landfills? These are the substitute for open burning dumps. Waste are dumped into depressions or trenches. Trenches are long depressions, uh, and after compaction, and this is covered with dirt every day. Landfills are not a permanent solution because they take a lot of space, and as you see in metros, the garbage generation is speeding up very fast, and we don't have that much space. So this is a very major issue. And another drawback of landfill is that there's always threat of seepage of chemicals. So if you are dumping something into landfill, definitely after degradation and that chemical will leach into the soil and it will pollute the groundwater. So this is a very scary situation and this can happen. So this is one of the disadvantages of these landfills. And if we go to how many types of categories are there? These can be three types: biodegradable, recyclable, and non biodegradables. So what is the situation of these municipal waste? The amount of waste generated is increasing very rapidly. So if you compare from 1947 to 1997, in 1947 the waste generated was 6 million tons, while it increased to 48 million tons in 1997. And 70% of the Indian cities are not at all adequately uh, at its capacity to transport waste and have no sanitary landfills to dispose of these waste. So this is very unfortunate, scary situation that we are not equipped with things to handle this amount of waste. Coming to the next point, how many types of waste there of solid waste? So if you see broadly, there are two types: hazardous and non-hazardous. So in hazardous, the radioactive waste and the industrial, electronic, and medical waste. Medical waste include uh, many microbial waste. These can be pathogenic, so these needs to be disposed of very carefully. And in terms of non-hazardous, the industrial waste and municipal waste. So municipal waste is like organic packaging and other materials like glass, plastics. So if you see this organic, this kind of degradable, this will go off easily. But if you see the others, they have very long life. And see, here we are discussing, it's not given there, but we'll be discussing how much time it takes to get these things degraded. So if organic waste, it may take a week or two to degrade an organic waste. For papers, it may take 10 to 30 days, cotton clothes 2 to 5 months, and wood 10 to 15 years. Woolen items for 1 year, plastic bags 1 million years, and for glass bottles, it's undetermined time. So you can see how many times it time it takes, how much time it takes for plastic bags to get degraded. So all the plastics which we are using, like bottles and these shoes everywhere. So these are the situation where they will not be degraded. So we can use something more biologically friendly to get rid of these situations. This is just an example, not at all included in your course, but it's just an interesting thing which I came across recently. So I wanted to share here. So, people are doing, countries are doing their bit to add into this problem. I mean, reduce this problem. So, this is called for sustainable usage. So, for sustainable usage, this is also called a cycle economy because people focus on reducing the production of these kind of garbage and reusing and recycling. So, here I have shown a picture of a shoe produced by an American company. They are using algal products, plastic produced from algae to make these shoes, and they are claiming that it degrades within 12 weeks. So you can see how good this is, that they have produced something which is quickly degradable. And the lower panel, you can see it's just a small thing which is showing the bioplastics. These are biodegradable, and the fossil based plastic which we are using right now, it's non biodegradable. But even then we can recycle it, like recently, if you have seen PM Modi, he was wearing a blue jacket which was gifted to him by Indian Oil Corporation, which was produced from recycled plastic bottles. So this is a very good initiative, and we should appreciate this. So coming to next part, what is the color code of dustbins in India? Different color dustbins are used to segregate different waste. So simply you can say the green is for organic wet waste, while the blue one is for recyclable waste like plastic waste, etc. And state governments across the country are trying to push for reducing the usage of plastics and use of eco-friendly packaging, increasing it. The hospitals generate a lot of hazardous waste that contains disinfectants and harmful chemicals and many pathogenic microorganisms. So these hospital wastes are generally incinerated to dispose of these hazardous waste. So, what is incineration? Incineration is the high temperature burning. This is a rapid oxidation process of the waste. It is also known as controlled flame combustion or calcination, and it is a technology that destroys organic constituents in the waste material. So, new techniques are developed for this burning process, used as energy generating methods. Um This incineration method is also considered as volume reducing steps to decreasing the cost of landfilling. So, because this will decrease the volume, so not much of the land is used to dispose of this thing. Now, coming to e-waste. E-waste consists of electronic products, as it's saying, the name says, and their components that are no longer wanted or usable. So example of e-waste are like computers, smartphones, televisions, refrigerators, and other household appliances. These e waste products contain potentially hazardous materials such as lead, mercury, cadmium, like that. And these are very harmful metals. Like if you must have heard the Minamata disease, which is caused by mercury poisoning, and for cadmium from cadmium poisoning, there is very infamous disease itai. So these are the uh, two very hazardous diseases from these metals. So e-waste are generally buried in landfills, or these are also incinerated. Recycling of e-waste in developing countries often involves manual participation, and that is the direct exposure of workers to the toxic substances present in e-waste. That's why e-waste is also very concerning. So sometimes it also happens that developed countries send their e-waste for disposing of into developing countries where the manual laborers collect them and dispose of them. So for this, UN has made a convention, a Basel Convention, which will regulate the transboundary movement of hazardous waste. And e-waste is also categorized as hazardous or non-hazardous waste under the Basel Convention. So this is now a regulated thing, but even then, very concerning ones. So now coming to the case study. This is a wonderful case study given in NCERT. So Ahmed Khan, aged 57, was producing plastic sacks for 20 years. One day he realized that plastic wastes are a real problem. So he developed polyblends, uh, a fine powder produced from recycling of plastic, and he mixed it with bitumen. So this bitumen is a product produced after distillation of crude oil, and this is used for waterproofing of roads also. So what he did was blended this polyblend with mixed this polyblend with bitumen, and used this to lay roads. So in this case study, Ahmad Khan proved that mixture of polyblend and bitumen both can be used for making roads. And polyblend can increase the bitumen's water repellent capacity, and it helps to increase road life by a factor of 3, which is actually good, very good. He gave rack pickers 6 kg per uh, 6 rupees per kg for plastic waste, which was actually the rate was 0.4 rupees per kg, but he paid this much. So this was very good initiative by him. So this is all done now. Now we will be discussing something like deforestation and some soil erosion topics, small topics. So degradation of natural resources. This can occur through improper resource utilization, like soil erosion and desertification. Loss of fertile topsoil is called soil erosion. What is the major reason? Overcultivation, unrestricted grazing, deforestation, and poor irrigation practices. And all of them just remove the top layer of the soil, which, as it's already said, it's the most fertile one. Uh, so when all of them are mostly related with when deforestation happens, the roots are no more available to grab the soil, so the soil is then washed off. And the unrestricted grazing, that too is the when the grasses have very dense root system, they capture soil very well. So these are the reasons, and this soil erosion leads to arid patch of land. When large barren patches extend, a desert is created. So it's like a slow process, and this can lead to desertification. Uh, Other examples of degradation of natural resources is like waterlogging and salinity. Irrigation without proper drainage of water leads to waterlogging in soil, and excessive waterlogging can cause salt deposition, initially as a thin layer on land surface. So this increased salt content is very harmful for the growth of crop, and this reduces the fertility of soil and eventually damage the agriculture and reduces the crop yield. Uh, Now the next is deforestation. It is a purposeful clearing of forested lands. Like what are the reasons? When the population is increasing, people need to live somewhere, people need to mm, get some agricultural land because we will be needing food eventually. We will need timbers for our furnitures and our other utilization and urbanization. These are the reasons why deforestation happens. Deforestation is the process of cutting the forest. So according to reports, around 40% of the forest has been lost in tropics and 1% are lost in temperate regions. This could be because the population is increasing very tremendously in these areas, and they need to, as I stated earlier, they need to stay somewhere, they need to have a lifestyle of certain standard, they need to have food. So these are the reasons. In India at the beginning of 20th century, the forest cover was 30% of the total land, and by the end of century the forest covers reduced to 21.54%. So see how much we lost. mm, More than, I mean, approximately 8.5% less forest cover. It sounds like very less, just 8.5%, but when you convert this to actual area, this will be very big loss. So what is the national forest policy? This was introduced in 1988 in India, and it recommended that 33% forest cover for plain and 67% for hills. So all the plain areas should have at least 33% of the forest cover, which I'm not very sure, but very few states in India, like perhaps Madhya Pradesh and northeast states, they have 33 or more percent of forest cover, and rest are not very good in this. So now coming to jhum cultivation, what is this? This is a type of slash and burn cultivation practices for agriculture, and this was in northeastern state. This happened very commonly. This was actually initiated by the nomads uh, in places. So what happens in this? The farmers cut down the trees and forests and burn the plant remains, and use those ashes as fertilizers for lands. And this is a major contributor to deforestation. And after cultivation, the area is left for several years, so that it get recovers. Although this jhum cultivation leads to deforestation, but initially what happened, they used to leave it for recovery. But when population increases, the recultivation happened very frequent. So the land did not get much time to get recovered. So what were the consequences of jhum cultivation? This leads to deforestation due to repeated cultivation. Uh, Deforestation enhances carbon dioxide concentration in atmosphere, and it also causes loss of biodiversity due to habitat destruction. Habitat destruction means when the trees are cut, the birds no longer have their uh, nest. Several animals which are living in those areas of the jungle, they don't have their residence. So I'll discuss another case study here. So the case study is people's participation in conservation of forests. In 1731, the king of Jodhpur, Rajasthan, asked to arrange wood for construction of his new palace. The Bishnoi community, it was a tribal community. It is a tribal community actually. It opposed the cutting of trees in their area. A Bishnoi woman, Amrita Devi, and hundreds of members of that community lost their lives in saving trees. So there is a award in name of Amrita Devi Bishnoi Wildlife Protection Award. This award is given to individuals or communities from rural areas that have shown extraordinary courage for wildlife protection. And there's another very important and famous movement, Chipko movement. This was in 1974, where local women from Garhwal, Himalayas, showed bravery in protecting trees from the acts of contractors. They used to hug the trees and said that if you have to cut the trees, you have to cut us. So that's it for today's part. Just let us know if you have some questions, and if you learn something, like it, share it, and subscribe it. From Next, we will start another chapter also, but meanwhile, we will be starting some MCQs also. So we'll see what are the responses. Just let us know if you like it.